We will hunt you down and make you pay.
Finding the attackers, President Biden promising to track down the ISIS leaders who carried out the bombings near the Kabul airport, killing a dozen U.S. service members. Thank you for joining us right now at 7. I'm Natalie Pasquarella. Now, in addition to those 12 service member deaths, 15 others have been injured. There were multiple Afghan citizens who were also killed or injured. That initial blast happened outside the airport's Abbey Gate. The second explosion was near the Baron Hotel that is known to be frequented by Westerners. Now, today's attack resulted in the most troops killed in a single incident since August 6, 2011. In that attack, 30 U.S. service members, including 22 Navy SEALs, were killed when their transport helicopter was shot down. While here at home, Mayor de Blasio is making it clear there is no specific or credible threat to the city. The NYPD Counterterrorism Bureau is closely watching the situation in Afghanistan and will update us if anything changes. We want to get right to our chief investigative reporter, Jonathan Dienst, who's been following the situation all day, joining us with the latest. John.
Natalie, U.S. officials say the attack was carried out by ISIS, a terror group that's also an enemy of the Taliban. The president speaking this evening made 3 points. The U.S. will continue to try to work with the Taliban to keep the evacuations going, that the U.S. will hunt down the ISIS terrorists behind today's bombings, and he voiced sympathy to the victims' families.
What the families of these brave heroes are feeling today. You get this feeling like you're being sucked into a black hole in the middle of your chest. There's no way out.
President Biden expressing sympathy to the families of the service members killed. He says the attack, another example why the U.S. needs to end its dangerous mission in Afghanistan. But he vowed to get the terrorists responsible.
We will find ways of our choosing without large military operations to get them.
It was a double suicide bombing, and then gunmen apparently followed, shooting at military and civilians. A dozen U.S. service members killed, others wounded, and the death toll of civilians outside the airport was at least 40 and growing. At the Pentagon, officials said ISIS is to blame.
If we can find who's associated with this, we will go after them. We've been clear all along that we're going to retain the right to operate against ISIS in Afghanistan.
ISIS in Afghanistan, known as ISIS-K, is a rival of the Taliban. They claimed responsibility. The Taliban condemned the attack, even as its own head of security himself is considered by the U.S. to be a wanted terrorist. The first blast happened outside a main gate to the Karzai airport. The second taking place nearby, outside a hotel used by foreigners, including Americans. Officials warned ISIS threats to the airport are ongoing, and they called on the Taliban to honor their side of the withdrawal deal.
That includes reaching out to the Taliban, who are actually providing the outer security cordon around the airfield, to make sure they know what we expect them to do to protect us.
U.S. officials say despite the chaos outside the airport, inside, the evacuation is continuing. 5,000 people are inside the airport perimeter, waiting for their flights out of country. Flights seen taking off amid the smoke. More than 100,000 people evacuated so far, with U.S. officials estimating there are still about 1,000 Americans inside Afghanistan, many who still need to get to the airport gates before the August 31st deadline. For the last 2 days, officials had warned Americans to stay away, as intelligence showed an ISIS plot targeting the airport was underway. After today's attack, real concern, additional plots are out there. And just into our newsroom, we're told another U.S. service member has died. That brings the total number of U.S. service members killed to 13. Natalie?
Jonathan, we, of course, hate to hear that. Thank you so much for the latest and the late-breaking details there. And as Jonathan just mentioned, you heard him say there in his story, there are still about 1,000 Americans inside Afghanistan who have to be evacuated by that August 31st deadline. We have NBC's Matt Bradley joining us near a U.S. military base in Germany with how the evacuations are not only crucial for the U.S., but also for the Taliban.
It seems as though the U.S. evacuation effort is continuing apace. Why? Well, because the U.S. and the Taliban have a deal, and they're running up against a deadline on August 31st. That is when American forces are supposed to have fully left the Afghan capital of Kabul. Now, why should the U.S. maintain this deal with the Taliban? Well, the Taliban are now, since the last week, the U.S.'s best partner on the ground. They're the ones who are ensuring security around Kabul International Airport. It's a sign of just how much has changed so quickly in just the last week. And also because the U.S. is trying desperately to get at least 500 Americans who the State Department believes are still stuck in Afghanistan and desiring to leave. Now, the main challenge, of course, is not getting them out of the country from the airport. It's getting them from Kabul into the airport, and that was demonstrated today with this deadly attack. Interestingly, the Taliban and the United States, their interests in Afghanistan have lately converged. And so now they're working hand in hand to get those last remaining Americans and Afghans who have helped America out of Afghanistan as quickly as possible. The Taliban want this because the removal of Americans and U.S. troops from Afghanistan means that they can finally, after 20 years of fighting, declare victory and set up their government. And that's why these evacuations have become so critical and so crowded. Natalie?
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you reporting there. We will keep a close watch on the developments there in Afghanistan, and we're going to bring you any updates as they happen. Our coverage also continues around the clock. You can see all of that free on our NBC4 New York app.